from Score as well. So
we're targeted. We're getting personal now with these bans.
Super personal, Pop Smithy. Is Caitlyn very generic, and KT probably going to look at something like a Zac for ban number 2, and that one's going to be locked away.
And then now, what do you have latitude to ban away with the third ban? Because it seems like Jin Air efficient for those OPs, whether it's the Kalista or the Elise, Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai's a big pick for them usually. They'll actually ban the Rek'Sai.
Ooh, could it be looking for something like an Elise first pick here for Jin Air, unless KT ban that one away? Will then leave the Lee Sin available for Umpty. Won't have as many options for Score.
And KT is saying, okay, with Rakan banned away, Kalista is of lower value than before, is what the gambit that they're putting. You have Elise and Lee Sin available, and Jin Air are definitely on the Lee Sin side of the coin, with Umpty being great on that pick. So they could have just gone for the Kalista, but compared to our first series, Elise could also be considered as a first pick and will surprisingly be taken here.
Yeah, Umpty's going to lock that one away. Of course, don't want Score to have access to the Elise at the same time. I mean, his Elise has always been feared. And now with 2 big picks available, you've got the Galio there and Score. I mean, Kalista makes a lot of sense here. They can final round. Oh no, it's going to be the Thresh. So another pick that has seen a lot of priority means that the enigmatic Galio from our prior series is not going to be as enigmatic, as Pawn's probably going to be picking that one up. But
and these have been high win rate champions for KT. Mada has come back into form as one of the world's best Thresh players.
Oh yes.
7-2 on the season. Pawn 5-0 on Galio, but we just saw a series where Galio was flexed. Still heavily expected to be mid lane in this game, given that support is no longer available, but outside chance we'll see some shenanigans.
Well, Umpty's going to lock away the Lucian, so they're expecting the mid lane Galio most definitely there, Pup Smithy. I have a feeling Kuzan will most likely be taking that gentleman up against the Gargoyle himself.
One of the reasons why Galio is so strong for KT is that they really do try to push things very hard in the mid game, and Galio's that extra insurance on the turret dive alongside Thresh. So if they can unlock Mada from the bot lane, also have Galio rotating first, it allows them to get the turrets, allows them to get the bigger objectives and blow open the game earlier, because they have been prone to those predictable mistakes in the mid game.
Now what I really want is Jinx or Kog'Maw to be locked in. So there it is, the Kog'Maw is going to be picked up. So Deft has been learning from his Korean ex-compatriots.
It's a pretty LPL draft. Kog'Maw may not be first pick, but it is a draft
Sorry, Chinese. I believe I just said Korean.
That's, yep.
It's just very confusing. Sorry about that, Pop Smithy. Continue.
It's now the sort of draft that can kite backwards. It could be engage heavy or disengage heavy, depending on where the last round of picks goes. But it is a Kog'Maw-centric draft, and Kog'Maw does well into the Kalista, and the 2v2 can just hang back and usually will trade up in autos, especially if his support is there to disengage. So comfortable enough to draft the Kog'Maw. Kind of predicted there'd be more and more Kog'Maw priority this week after seeing the results at Rift Rivals.
And now Jarvan becomes pretty hot topic here for KT Rolster. Would like to be able to the Cataclysmic entrance, but they're just going to ban that one away themselves. So, I mean, this is why you're the analyst, not me.
Kind of high value on both sides. You could understand it as a meat wall for the Kog'Maw to free hit behind, but also as a champion to get into the back line and contest the Kog'Maw. Yeah. When you have Smeb, usually you don't necessarily have to respect something like a Jarvan because he can just pick Renekton into it and boss them around. Jarvan remains banned. A lot of Score's comfort from the jungle has been banned away as well, so he probably has to go pretty low tier in terms of jungle picks. Something like the Nidalee is a possibility. I
like the Primal Surge plus Kog'Maw. That's exciting, and that's going to be locked in. So Score certainly jumping right into the bottom of the Santa Sack.
And it's the second Nidalee we've had by any player in the summer season of the LCK. First was Songwon, it was a defeat. So much of it on the ladder, but much less of it in practice. So we do see the Nidalee here.
I mean, how many junglers were banned away? You've got Zac, Jarvan, theoretically, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, and Gragas. Like, that is most of the jungle pool, and then Elise picked up. So, yeah, you do have to dig pretty far.
It's ostensibly a Gnar blind pick on the side of Jin Air, which you start saying the Y word and getting Yasuo excitement, and Trundle now actually being considered. But they will just go with the Alistar for engage, trying to have someone get access to the Kog'Maw.
And the Fate's Call as well, plus the Headbutt Pulverize. It's like the poor man's Kalista Rakan. And we saw it was Martyr and Deft that made that one work out very well at Rift Rivals, that first game.
could just draft the Rumble and lose lane, or look for something lane dominant, which is usually the way we see KT go. Shen is a pick that they've actually played pretty frequently this season. They're 3-0 on Shen. So give up the wave clear and the wave control in topside. Gnar is a really strong matchup into the Shen. And in general, the matchups here are very good on paper for Jin Air. And KT are kind of saying, screw you guys, we're going late game and Kog'Maw is going to be unkillable. And that's kind of their game plan. This is a very one-note draft on the side of KT, outside of maybe the amount of disruption that a Nidalee can do with her early pathing to try and create some pressure for KT very early in the game.
The thing that I really like about this draft for KT is the fact that Nidalee can gank all 3 of these lanes. As a champion that doesn't necessarily have a lot of crowd control herself, I mean, you've got the Shadow Dash there to get that taunt in. Galio's got the Shield of Durant to also have himself a taunt, plus the knock-up with Justice Punch. I mean, there are opportunities to get score in amongst it if he wants to get there.
It's just really hard to itemize against a Gnar. As Shen, you have to deal with physical and magic damage. The Hyper gets a lot of value. All the damage has to come through from Deft unless Nidalee gets a massive lead. And there could be pressure in 3 lanes from Jin Air, which, on the one hand, like you say, maybe that means hunting season for the Nidalee. But on the other side, it could just be the sort of pressure draft that teams have been looking for the better part of a year.
Yeah, it's really scary stuff from Jin Air. KT putting all of their eggs into the Deft basket. We'll see whether he's going to be the one to take them over the line or whether Jin Air are going to keep their clean streak going. Let's do it. Let's hop onto the Rift. KT fans out in force this evening.
Jin Air fans in full voice as well, and they should be. A lot of the stats here are surprisingly close between Jin Air and KT, which if you told me that in the spring season, I wouldn't believe you. KT #1 for shortest average game time at 35 minutes. Hello, Western fans. But Jin Air, they have short games too, Atlas. They're #3. They're only 35.4 minutes on average.
And that's in comparison to what, like 50 minutes in the previous season, you know?
It was right up there around 45 at times, so yep, you're correct. Jin Air and KT both have the lowest deaths. KT is #1 for early game gold differences. We keep banging that cowbell.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh, no wonder Alice is making a resurgence. He's just got the best skin.
If only we had
ever.
Lee Sin with his bell.
Oh my goodness.
Are you tilted yet? He asked Pawn.
No, not ever. Spectacular. Okay, Pawn's just going to make his way back to the mid lane. He's had his fill of cowbell. We haven't.
Who's tilting who, Atlas?
Oh, it's definitely not me. If anyone's tilted by that, that's just crazy. Kuzan and Ixu just looking to disrupt over here. Score with a pounce. He's going to be able to get himself in there, but piercing Light does a lot of damage to Score.
Yeah, steal away 2 of the little raptors. Doesn't actually hit level 2 from the camp, even with the big raptor involved.
Bit of a disaster. There's the extra damage for the Boomerang. Doing a bit of damage and work to Smeb.
Yeah, because there was no deep vision, they were just kind of able to walk in pretty comfortably and get that little advantage. Just again, looking at the stats. KT, predictably, they have the best early game. 1,200 gold lead at 15 minutes on average. Jin Air's 3rd in that stat as well. So in terms of statistically, Jin Air have been matching KT in the early game in pretty amazing fashion given their earlier reputation. And it's a sort of game where now they have the pushing advantage. Now they have the pressure advantage in multiple lanes. So we'll see if the stats can translate into the sort of early game lead that Jin Air have largely picked themselves into.
Especially now, you can see in the mid lane, Pawn getting shoved in by Kuzan, meaning that Umti can move himself to the other side of the map if he wants to, and Pawn, whoa, Justice punching his way in. That's dangerous. If there's another round of spells, he's dead, has to use the flash. I feel like if Kuzan had have actually used the Relentless Pursuit forward, he probably could have killed
going to be too
right
late.
there. Oh, very close. So Umti gives up his position. Score knows that he's well and truly safe, but that was very dangerous. Pawn's going to teleport back in.
And Pawn's a sort of madman that makes plays like that, which force the enemy mid laner to assume there has to have been the jungler in the area because of how brazen Pawn was. a flash auto and he was dead, and yet he took the sort of trade that very few other mid laners would take. It's not complete madness, it's just the way Pawn plays, but it gets him. He's able to bail out, teleport back in with a refillable pot, and try to retain some normalcy.
Well, now you've got KT just slaughtering this bottom side of the map. Of course, Alistair not necessarily with any laning prowess.
Not early, especially, as this time Nidalee has got the inside track to mid lane.
Yep, Justice Punch is going to be avoided, but Kuzan, gets hit by the spear, has to flash. Score is going to get himself a free back and a free flash out of Kuzan. Okay, now KT continue to put on the pressure, trying to clear out wards and get some more damage onto Snowflower. I feel like he should just sit back and bang that cowbell. What is he doing? Walking around in circles? That's not helping anyone. Trying
to have a lane presence, and I agree with you. I think the cowbell would have more lane presence.
Yeah, so much more lane presence. It's the psychological game. That's what you need to get in amongst. Okay, so we're going to teleport back towards the top side of the map. Not wanting to do it too aggressively. And Score is up towards the top side of the map, so understandable. He's slaughtering the jungle right now as well, Score, so we'll take down Krug camp, now move to the second round of Raptors.
Nature of Nidalee. That's a lot of always has a good time with the small camps. The Krugs in particular are a great spot for him to power farm through the jungle.
Also Scored known as a pathing jungler as well, so Nidalee lends herself to creative jungle paths to make sure that you can optimize based on what's available. So good to see. Gets himself an extra book as well as his tracker's knife.
He really wants to clear out as many camps in the top side early. It's going to be the more difficult side for him to return to. Ostensibly, because Gnar can continue to push in the Shen, it should be pretty easy for Elise to path around top side, contest enemy red, get vision around the Rift Herald when it spawns, but in the early game that's a lot more difficult before items are complete.
Well, speaking of difficult, obviously not going to be able to find a gank here. Clears out a control ward though, and Score is going to move on over. Vision available, so they know exactly where the French maid is. They're going to find another ward as well. So pings down on the junglers. No one's surprised about where they are at all. There's Ixu and Smeb on well and truly an island up here towards the top side, and Smeb's wishing for some minions to pay some attention.
Wishing Riot would revert the latest buff to Gnar as well.
Yeah,
this makes his life more painful.
Boomerang actually with 3 points in it did a bunch of work.
Gonna pick up the Ninja Tabi, I imagine, with his first purchase. Balmy Cinder, still not going to have enough combat stats on it to be willing to purchase it early, but probably still going to be a Sunfire in this game.
Yeah, I'll see where Smeb decides to go. Of course, could be in the Tiamat mindset. Just say, well, I'll just clear out this wave as quickly as I can.
It's usually the Shen way, but push for the Smeb Shen way, but risky.
Now, that's a huge minion wave the Snowflower has to deal with. Look at Def. Pops that W by Arcane Barrage doing some work. Okay, Snowflower does need to be careful, and keeping an Alistair low is a very good idea. Not quite approaching that level 6 mark just yet.
Crucially, it's as the Nidalee is pathing around bot side as well.
Yeah.
Don't have any vision in the area. Now put down a very shallow ward.
He's actually just going to face check this one. As that was cute. Fadeaway jump shot there as Ixu doesn't have anywhere near his Narbar complete, and Umpty's going to make his way in. Back pings coming out of KT, and so far it's been some very controlled League of Legends. Oh yeah, that's going to go very wide. Shadow Dash still available for Smeb. Still has his flash as well, so he's A-okay, and not a lot of mana on Umpty, so he's going to head back home, tail between his metaphorical legs.
Yeah, Umpty just got surprised when he saw Smeb and lost his core, missed the cocoon, and that meant no chance to pick up the kill.
I, of course, meant metaphorical tail. I spent a lot of time on a plane and didn't get a lot of sleep, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for not being able to words very well.
You're doing the OGN special, casting off a plane. I'm looking forward to
I'm actually on the plane, guys. I was green screened in.
You're going to have your own glad plane, sad plane interaction. I, for one, hope it goes 3 games to see your own personal hell.
Oh, no, I love it. Don't worry about that. You guys are the ones that have to deal with me not being able to speak words. This is exactly where I want to be. I've been such a Jin Air fan recently. It's fantastic watching them up against KT that on a good day has been easily one of the best teams here in the LCK. It's a huge test, especially after the 2-0 that KT were able to perform earlier on against Jin Air.
The days have been a bit more few and far between recently, so unfortunately, as the nature when you are a top team, you know, a team involved in those telecom wars, a team intertwined with finals, it's always how good are you lately? And the answer for KT has been struggle streak.
Yeah.
The Nidalee pick is new from Score. Played it in the last meta. Never really a Nidalee expert like he has been on other champions like the Gragas, for example. But his famous interview he gave once was that Nidalee was so overpowered he had to play it. And it's not really the case now. It's just an option with so many junglers banned away.
Well, now Fate's Call available. They're just waiting for the Unbreakable Will on Snowflower, and Score already set himself up. Try and get this gank.
Trying to bait in Mata.
Okay, sneaks his way forward, but there's pings now. Yeah, I believe he was spotted. So Score just allows Deft to freely farm this one out and gives Mata the opportunity to clear out vision. So still success on the bottom side, even if it is just mild.
Well, the Kog'Maw to get a pretty free lane, and we know exactly what KT want to be doing in the late game. Very interesting time to choose to vary up their style. A team that has for the longest time played with no tank, played with a very early game focus, trying to go a big gold lead and then just win with low initiation in team fights. Now they go for strong CC. They go for a soul carry. Single damage dealer next to the jungle Nidalee. It's a very different style of comp on the side of KT Rolster, but it's also the sort of range you need if you want to be challenging for the LCK title.
Yeah. I also like the adaptation. And speaking of which, Mata's going to make his way in. Good flay back because Kuzan has to use the flash, and nice juke gets himself out of the way. That flash seems to be on permanent cooldown, and Kuzan just has to play more defensively. Can't put the pressure on Pawn as much as he has been, but still able to get a 16 CS lead here in this lane.
Really no loss in the bot lane. Kog'Maw can just come back into lane happily, even without his support. Lane was pushed up by the Kalista. It's not going to be a massive buy either. Just the Berserker Greaves on recall. So apart from really holding the Shen in check, it's been pretty standard stuff from the side of Jin Air, and it's not like Ixu's been able to grow a gold lead. Pushing in the Shen is only really important if the jungler is able to get value out of it on that side of the map, and for now, there's not been a lot of pathing around top side, although they did get some nice wards the last time around.
You can see Ixu now wave shoving towards him. So,
he used the bounce.
Yeah, he's going to go aggressive. Oh, there's the spear. That's going to land immediate flash, but good wallop. Stops Score from being able to get anything else. They get the flash, so still successful gank. And now Umti wants to make his way in for a potential counter. No vision available, wants to find a cocoon, but actually just going to help shove this wave back.
Timing there was so split perfect. Saw the jump be used by the Gnar just for an extra bit of damage, and thus the attempt came in from KT. We'll just get a recall, and one recall's interrupted by Score. Max range spear.
Yeah, actually looking for more as well as Umti possibly to get interrupted by another spear. But no, Score's just going to go back home. And a teleport is going to get Ixu back towards the top side of the map. So Pawn making his way down bot. We'll see whether this tower falls as Teddy's chucking a lot of spears at it.
The goal here from KT Rolster is to very early rotate Deft into mid lane to allow Mata to roam. And given his prowess on the Thresh, that shouldn't be a big surprise. What this does is it basically guarantees that Deft will get free farm in the mid lane. And a matchup that people might remember from many moons ago was that Kog'Maw into Lucian actually had a really good laning phase because of his extra range. Was happy to dart back when Biocane Barrage was on cooldown. Just laning mid lane against Lucian, going to be pretty happy. And again, unlocking both a Galio and a Thresh on the map is the reward for KT with this early rotation.
Yeah, it's going to be Kuzan. Ardent Blaze picks up the Rift Scuttler as well. That's pretty good. Managing to kill that guy with a spell that does about 30 damage is pretty impressive. Now, here's the rotation once again. So Jin Air doing the very best they can to try and get the Lucian versus Galio matchup. Pawn still has a teleport, so it should be easy for KT to try and get an optimal lane sorted out for themselves.
And worst case scenario, you get a 2v2 in the mid lane. It's a shorter lane, so even more safety for Deft to farm. And Galio's always going to be a happier side lane than a no teleport Lucian. So in terms of lane assignments, KT really happy with where this works out. It's on Jin Air to make plays, bot lane.
Yeah, okay, so Runic Bulwark is just going to make sure that he doesn't die. Winds of War clears out the wave, and Pawn pretty happy down here towards the bottom side.
Kog'Maw is about the safest a Kog'Maw could ever be. Consider that he's mid lane. with a Thresh, so a short lane. He has Shen ultimate and Hero's entrance to bail him out if anything goes wrong. And he has a Nidalee just poking around trying to be a battle ward. So it's basically the let's guarantee Kog'Maw hits his items on time move here from KT.
Yep, it's the guaranteed deft tilt protection. Making sure that they're all in on that one as Score. Aggressive. He's going to be able to easily land the spear after the taunt. They're looking for first blood. Good, cute bounce. But that's going to be the autos coming out, and the red buff's going to be able to do it. Score picks up first blood all too easily for KT.
A sort of play that's most easy when you are able to push up your ward line early because your support is already in the mid lane. Double control ward around the area meant there was no early information for Ixu. He goes down. So people are reacting here. Already the turret low.
Yep, Score just using that Primal Rage, getting himself a bit more attack speed. Primal Surge, sorry. Primal Rage is a very different move.
And then Galio can just play the push in bot lane.
Yeah. Still up against the Lucian, so not exactly best times, but very close to his Frozen Heart. He'll just be getting towards that unkillable status. I feel like as far as early games are concerned, it's very different from what we normally expect from KT, but it's exactly how they want it to go, as now Smeb's just going to get murdered. Dove underneath the turret. Just not a lot of respect given to Jin'er, and not a lot of respect given to my point as well, which was destroyed by that particular overstay.
Well, it was a Tiamat Ninja Tabi Shen, so he did actually choose the path of clearing the minions under the turret fast, not the path of tanking up a Elise who had a Rune Glaive already, a Runic Echo already. So just disrespectful from Smeb. Dies for free.
Yep, a little bit silly, but is going to respawn and could theoretically go for a gank.
Looking for the all-in here with the Shen ultimate.
Yeah, threads the needle, and there it is. Papa Smithy, you're exactly right. Bit of a jump over, good position of the minions, and he does get the taunt. Marta turns up, just wants to get an auto. The play's in there, and Smeb is going to get the kill. Donates the assist over to Marta, who's in the right place at the right time to get that.
Yeah, perfect waiting game from Score. Hit the spear as the Shen ultimate could come through. Proactive play with the Shen ultimate like you like to make is Pawn bot lane, going to get dived.
He most certainly is. That is going to be turrets traded. First brick going over to KT, I believe. Actually, no, I think that's Jin'er.
Yeah, Jin'er.
Yep.
By a hair's breadth, but enough to get the gold lead, like you mentioned. In all this, remember that Kog'Maw is happily free hitting in mid lane.
Yep, farming things out. Kallista's going to make her way back, but it's going to cost them 2/3 of the turret's health bar.
So the way this game works, basically what Jin'er want to do is, at this point they're like, okay, we're screwed. We have to give Kog'Maw free farm. That only matters at 3-4 items. Still 2 items does heavily favor Jin'er, as the Hurricane should come in for Teddy, and they can do some pretty disgusting things in team fights. They get a Gnar ult as the free-hitting Hurricane Blade the Ruin King. Kalista can really take over the game. But then it relies on you also having ward control and having exclusive vision as 2 items comes through. And KT have already prepped vision. We saw their great play around top side. They've had Thresh with free time in the mid lane. It's definitely going to be a difficult path for the side of Jin'er to navigate. But that's what they want to do, is force 5v5s the moment that Kalista hits 2 items.
Well, getting closer and closer to that point, Papa. As the dragon does fall down in favor of Jin'er. So Mountain Drake, definitely a good one. Something that I could imagine KT would have wanted, given the fact that Kog'Maw adds so much to Baron damage.
Let's talk about Baron damage. Gnar, Hyper, Kalista, 2 items as well, and a Lucian. So Baron for Jin'er is going to be a big thought as well.
Yeah, Blade of the Ruin King, Lucian as well. Exactly right. I was looking at the wrong team. Guaranteed.
Jin'er have a 30, I would say 18 to 25 second Baron at 20 minutes if they want it. So maybe even faster. They have an Elise as well, so their Baron speed is super fast.
Snowflower actually able to tank it pretty effectively, and his ultimate gives him AD.
Not anymore.
Oh, no, not anymore.
AD's gone. The Trinity Force Infinity Edge Alistar is no more.
Damn it. Worst time to be alive. AP Alistar still lives, though.
If we do see Ultra late game, I'd like to watch the Alistar heals in the late game. We were casting Alistar from Marta when he was playing at Rift Rivals in late game.
What was it, 400 health?
450 AoE heals after the buff came through, where Alistar no longer healed his allies for half. They get the full value. And that means that when he does proc the heal, it's a pretty impressive AoE heal.
Yeah. Snowflower going to be banking on that potentially against Deft's machine gun damage. Now has himself his recurve bow. Heading towards a hurricane of his own. See whether Deft is in the mind to go for something like a third item Rage Blade, or whether it's going to be an Infinity Edge like some of the Cogmores have been going towards. He turns up top, Smev gets the heck out of dodge. And, Deft is starting to demonstrate that he is getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, it's not like Teddy has massive wave clear in mid, so Nidalee comes in, helps them push, and then starts to roam to clear up some wards. Deft continuing that mission of free CSing.
Yeah, Kuzan and Smeb battling each other out. Got Titanic Hydra done here for Smeb, so it does a lot of damage. His score jumps over to the side. Nowhere for the itsy bitsy spider to go, and once again it's going to be Mata picking up another kill contribution. Deft flashing himself over the wall as Teddy tries to get in there. Fate's Call gets Snowflower right in amongst it for a headbutt, as he does have the ultimate running, but it's just not enough. It will run out, and Deft should be able to grab himself a kill. Decent stun comes out, Teddy survives, but Kuzan very low, and somehow KT members all survive.
It was a really poor decision to flash over in that scenario. Very easy for Deft to also flash, and they didn't have any more threat on the backline, even with Alistair being sent in. There's just 2 kills from the side of KT. Nothing for Jin Air to pick up. They lose map pressure as well. They want to turn to the Rift Herald, but it was despawning. You see the replay here, and Score hits the first of the spears, and they do so much damage to Umti. Looked like he was inevitably going to die. Deft just caught in transition. They think, okay, we're going to be able to squash the bug that is this deep sea Cogmore. But after this point, getting the kill is pretty impossible. He's jumping into an area where they don't have vision, even though Snowflower is granting it by being in the area. And there's also Shen ultimate. There's also Galio controlling space. It was the wrong decision for an AD carry to jump over there, and that's why Jin Air don't manage to trade up.
Yeah, and Snowflower had also just pulverized as well, so it was on cooldown, and they couldn't do the bouncy castle after the Fate's Call knock-up as well. So it wasn't the double CC, it was just the one, which just allowed for a little bit too much damage and too much space to be gained by KT as well. A bit unfortunate there. That combination should work more and more as the game goes on, and especially as cooldown reduction is built by Snowflower as well.
Word of Ages is the new old build, I guess, for the Nidalee jungle. When we were seeing lots of players, for example, Cuz hitting close to rank 1 with the Nidalee jungle, it was the Athene's Unholy Grail into Lichbane was actually the build that was pretty common, but it feels like Score is going for a tankier build to not get bursted down by a Gnar ultimate. Cogmore, he's probably going to be the one receiving all the shields and peel, so it's more likely that Nidalee is going to be caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, do you feel like Score might go towards an Athene's Unholy Grail just because you can be helping him out a little bit more due to the fact that he does have the Primal Surge?
And I think it's definitely possible. It's so low magic damage that you're not really getting any value out of the magic resist, but the extra healing is always something that Nidalee has craved, and cooldown reduction too. So it's not going to be a rush necessarily, but option to go there later.
Ooh, Ardent Sensor Nidalee.
You say it with a bit of facetiousness, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, I'd like it. And actually synergize as well with an Athene's. You could go both. Whoa, sky's the limit. And that's going to be a brilliant hook. Uncapitalizable. That was a bit of a stretch.
I saw you shake your head there on whether that was a word or not.
Yeah, I saw you glance over saying, what the hell was that, Max? Okay, but this game is incredibly even. It's exactly what we wanted from this series. Deft playing pretty far up here in the mid lane. Taking a bit of damage there as well, but another spear. Shows that Score has certainly been putting some time back into the Nidalee.
The items, to me, is the real interesting thing in this game. It's not really Kuzan running at pawn. That's probably not going to work.
Right. He's going to taunt him up. Justice League punch away.
Because the items that Deft goes here is actually not necessarily uncharted territory, but there's 2 different schools of thought in what you can do.
Ooh, early Rage Blade.
It could have been, I was thinking Hurricane into, for example, Rage Blade. The thing about going Rage Blade is it means that your 2-item spike is actually pretty insane. It's not Kalista, but it means that you're online earlier. Or you can just say, let's just hang back, play defensive, go Infinity Edge, and then hit the spike at 3 or 4 items. So the Rage Blade is what I was going to speculate about. And it does seem like it's going to be the earlier Rage Blade to just come online early and try to fight Jin Air at basically every point in the game.
Yeah, the two nicer components as well already completed, so Def probably looking for the recipe completion and the Blasting Wand on his next back. He'll have a fair bit of money. He's used a lot of his mana to take down minion waves, so should be nearing that Rage Blade relatively soon.
Teddy definitely has the gold for his Hurricane, but no item buying time.
They're just going to be following the cow around. Probably feels pretty good about that, you know, as far as the cow population. They've been herded for so long, and now they're the ones doing the herding.
Now, if we could listen in on comms, the herding is largely around Baron. It's about getting control wards around Baron and always having that lingering doubt that Jin Air with their Mountain Drake and their team comp are going to be turning on to Baron. That's basically the sort of paranoia that Jin Air feel like in this point of the game will influence the positioning of KT the most. And with the Baron damage we already outlined, that part is certainly true. Smeb's surprisingly rotund, but that's because Ixu's not at 2 items yet, so Black Cleaver not enough to shred down the now Randuin's Omen Ninja Tabi Shen.
Randuin's Omen Ninja Tabi and the Titanic Hydra as well, so has his wave clear, has his defensive item for dealing with the Gnar. He's feeling pretty good, and he's only about 10 CS shy of where he's at. If you have a look at that scoreline as well, Smeb will be ahead in gold, so nicely done by the top laner of KT.
And we've hit our go button. 2 items now on the Kalista. I think relatively, Jin Air will never be stronger than right now, but it might not mean much. Here we go.
Yep, they're looking for it. Pounce is going to be available as Ixu makes his way back in, and Umpty, undiscovered. But it's not going to be the overextension for KT. Bloodthirst being held onto. I like it. Reserved play, not something that we come to expect, but certainly something that you want with a composition like this.
There is that Rage Blade, so 2 item spike of his own coming through from Deft. It's only single target, but it will rip through basically anyone on the side of Jin Air. No armor items picked up whatsoever, so there's not a better time that you could have the Rage Blade.
Yeah, not a lot of magic resist at the same time. To be honest, there's an old Magic Mantle that Teddy's going to be building into that QSS, but Deft can keep that passive up. That Blade of the Ruin King will be tearing through the members of Jin Air.
Jin Air now caught in a couple of thoughts. They're going to have Gnar go bot lane because he doesn't have a Rage Bar. Galio's off the map. Shen has the ability to join at any point. Choosing your fights as Jin Air. The next one should decide the game, so you can understand they're waiting for the right moment. Killing Deft through double summoners, Thresh, Shen, and Galio is going to be one hell of a difficult thing to pull off.
Shen's now vacated the bottom lane. Ward now walked over by Umpty. You could have KT just walking straight over to this Baron because the Spider Lady, well and truly out of position. Now KT actually looking for some sort of pick as Snowflower going to make his way over. We'll clear this ward out, and KT are playing this one very patient.
Many Gnar just being transformed into by Ixu, so KT feels stronger and stronger to walk up.
Okay, Pawn takes an auto attack. As there's the hook, lands onto Umpty. He has a repel, knows that it's not going to be him that's going to be taken down in this fight. Doesn't want to go overly aggressive. Such reserved play from KT, which is definitely not what we expect. There's that heal that we need to be aware of from Snowflower, not necessarily doing so much at this stage of the game, but will be improving.
You just want to break the outer turret. Starting a Baron when you have outer turret up is almost impossible. And what the Vision of Minion Wave will provide you, so they finally take that outer mid lane turret. And now all the Baron control that Jin Air had for the majority of the first 22 minutes completely gone. Red control wards all around the Baron. And Jin Air kind of have spiked, but really have no way to translate the early itemization they have. They haven't found an angle for initiation. And then the result is that KT continue to stick the landing, and Deft continues to pile on CS.
Yeah, pile on CS as well as get enough pressure to take down that outer turret in the mid lane. Now they're able to move their ward line up, which they've already done, ticking all of the checkboxes of KT. Slow and steady is winning this race, and it's confusing. It's not something that you really come to expect from this team, but it's a good look for them, especially with this composition. There is nothing more cool, PubSmithy, than teams that can play multifaceted League of Legends.
Oh, I mean, it definitely feels like the Matthew McConaughey in True Detective moment where he had been in the romantic comedy his whole career, and he was like, look at my range, I can be dramatic.
Yeah.
And now it's KT, who had played early game all year.
And if they're going to follow if they're going to follow Matthew McConaughey's career as far as trajectory,
it goes well.
Oh, it goes so well. What a good story. Fantastic. Although I did like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That was one of my favorites. As Mata, he's actually taking a large portion of his health bar and damage. Thankfully, Primal Surge is there. As the Baron, it's going to fall. The Rend is going to take it out. Fate's Call comes in. They want to keep this fight going as Deft has to kite his way around a Snowflower. Not exactly the best headbutt. Now Deft is going to be able to control this one. Mata eventually falls down. Heroic Entrance is going to get pawned in there, and Deft is trying his very best to get this one working. Ixu taking a lot of damage, but Deft gets knocked up. So much damage! And now KT have started to pile on. Teddy in trouble. Smeb with the autos wants one more. Ixu, he's now going to fall down, and that's going to be the ace. Triple kill comes in for Smeb. And that's going to be that.
Just utter madness at the end of the fight as Shen, of all people, is able to clean it up. Smeb's seen crazier things before, but I don't know if we have everyone so low that the AoE from the Titanic Hydra and the exploding Acathian surprise is enough. And KT win a fight when this was probably Jin'e's best time to fight. We start the replay. Jin'e pull the trigger on the Baron in for it with complete understanding of KT. They rush it down, they have the Callista, they get the secure. And with this, they get a nice initiation onto Deft, but the headbutt, it was buffered early and actually gets Deft to safety. The fight could have ended here. It was already 4v5, but they're feeling the re-engage because Deft was getting his W cooldown back up. Re-engage happens, he can hit the front lines, turns on, is assassinated by Kuzan, but then everyone's so low that of all people, Smeb is the cleanup crew.
Yeah, and he's just so tanky at this stage as well. It just shows that KT, they don't often have themselves in these situations. Smeb's often on a Rumble or something like that. He would have been dead long earlier, and now he's got his Knight's Vow done. He's got his Spectre's Cow there as well. He's 5-1-3. He's ahead in farm. And the Shen, not only is he now going to be a split-pushing threat with a lot of wave clear with his Titanic Hydra, but he's going to be unkillable when he turns up in these fights.
Yeah, he's not dying anytime soon. As you say, he is ready to be rotund in a team fight. Deft's still not going to play with fire. He knows that his flash and heal are not up, so this goes QSS to have even more ability to free hit. Does delay any future damage from coming through on his side. Jin'e have taken the Baron off the map as an objective, so they got the gold from it even if they weren't able to use the buff to any great degree. So the Baron buff power play pretty much on the embarrassing side. As Score decides to really go for the alpha move.
Yep, that is some swag ward removal. Jin'e possibly could have even capitalized on that one, but unfortunately put his tracker's knife in the wrong spot. Instead, there's an hourglass there. Oopsies. But he went for the Zhonya's, didn't go for a funny cup or an ardent sensor, whatever that is. I like calling the Athenes a funny cup, but I don't actually know what an ardent sensor is. Haven't studied the picture enough, I don't think, as Mata is taking a full culling. Stand United has to come in. So many shields, and that's the hook that's going to land. Smeb right in there as Score's the one that picks up the kill onto Kuzan. Teddy trying his very best, but he's slowed. Look, he just can't really dance this one out. As Ixu in the backline like you were talking about, but Teddy just can't get the damage this time. The flash! Oh, the immediate QSS, and Teddy now trying to turn it on. There's going to be Snowflower falling, but it was very, very close and Deft. Now at full health, they're able to pressure down this inner turret.
Yeah, KT are able to fight front to back. That's the thing that Jin'e is struggling to do, as their front line does get mown down by the Kog'Maw. Gnar coming from a fight that's only important if his Mega Gnar is on point. It wasn't. He was still channeling it as he got chunked out by the Kog'Maw. So KT play through the front, take the inhibitor, and they can back away.
Yeah, this is the KT that we expect. The KT that knows exactly how much they can take after winning a fight. Deft is angry right now. Doesn't have a lot of mana, but was almost able to kill Umpty. Xu trying to turn this one around, but yeah, KT now with double Infernal Drake, and they take down the inhibitor in the mid lane just after a better skirmish. Front line just a little bit stronger on the side of KT with the 5-1 Shen. 5-1-5 Shen. Goodness me.
Yeah, if Shen can isolate Callista, there's no amount of damage the Callista can put out that actually kills the Shen. And this is with Mata dying instantly, so it's a 4v5 to start. But Ixu doesn't contribute anything, and Pawn and Smeb in the front line. Look at Teddy, who's putting as much damage into them as possible. There's no Last Whisper yet, there's no Mortal Reminder yet, or Lord Dominic's Regard, which he severely needs. And then KT can finally just open up. Deft no longer has to deal with positioning, just looking for closest target. That means he's able to mow down the remaining members of Jin'e.
And now he's able to pick up his Runar's Hurricane as well. Remember, he had just a cheeky dagger. Now he has that full crossbow. So even the AoE has to be well and truly respected, and his wave clear is very fast as we have a look at it towards the top side of the map. This is a frightening Kog'Maw now, and that's the Athene's done for score. And we saw him in that last fight. Actually, what I really loved is that Marta falls down, but Deft still has the buddy. The Nidalee's still sitting there, giving him the primal surges, making sure that the Kog'Maw is always buffed up and healthy, and able to just move forward as a mobile artillery.
And we kind of sound farcical because we're, as a colorcaster and a play-by-play, being surprised at KT playing Protect the Deft. But that's what they're doing. It's just a strategy that KT, with this lineup, has never used in 2017, even though it was a famous Deft strategy in 2014, 2015, 2016. It hasn't been the way in 2017. They haven't played around Deft in this way, largely on Varus and Ashe and utility. But yeah. KT varying their speed, playing a lot more defensive, relying on much more sound shot core instead of we must do this, otherwise we won't be able to win in the late game. Now they play the controlled side, and it's pretty heartening to see that going back to an old banger, which was Protect the Deft, works as well.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, if we have a look back to sort of one of the more famous series that Deft has been a part of, was when Pawn was playing the Morgana in Game 5, MSI 2015. I know it's stretching, but I mean, that was utility being picked up elsewhere on the map.
It's funny, it kind of makes you smile that KT went to Rift Rivals, they saw teams playing around a Kog'Maw, and they were like, wait, we can do that also.
We've got like 40% of that team, so we can just do that again. That'll be fine, right? Well, certainly something that they seem to be warming to like they'd never stopped. It's like us heading back to Sydney, Papa Smithy. Just felt like we never left.
Hey, if this means that Deft never plays Jhin again, I'm happy.
Thank goodness. As long as he plays Jinx instead. Maybe he just got the wrong name. He gets cocooned, doesn't actually panic QSS or anything like that, and primarily surged back up to basically full health.
A lot of buffs to Nidalee heal over time. Means that it is irrelevant in this particular regard. What will Jhin Air do? They need to find a way to wombo. Ixo needs to come up with the monstrous Mega Gnar to answer this game, but Smeb's on the prowl, interestingly. He has his flash available very soon.
Oh, Hook was looking for Umpty to walk down. Cute little fake out. Living Artillery is going to spot out the members of Jhin Air, but they have possibly caught them in transition. Remember, there's a heroic entrance, and there is also the Stand United, so there's a lot of abilities for KT to reconvene.
There's also an obvious time period for KT to wait, watch out the Mega Gnar, and now count up the relatively 30 seconds before Mega Gnar will be able to be completed, and 15 seconds till the Rage Bar will start entering, and now they can walk up. This is the time to walk up for KT. They don't have to respect the Gnar at all.
Yep, the old Gnar minigame. It's one that we forgot to play. Well, he's been out of the meta, now one that's a lot more relevant. And one that Cuvée demonstrated you really need to pay attention to, because some of his teleports were outstanding, but it means that you have to be in a lot of control. Ixu now building it back up, as you can see. Yeah, Deft down to about half health, but Primal Surge is silly. That's a bit busted, Pop Smithy.
That's the Athenes also coming through. That wasn't just the E-proc. Doesn't heal that much.
Nope. Okay. Takes a little spider, and then we'll take the Dark Passage.
Turn on to Baron is something that Jhin Air have to respect, even if on paper it's just Kog'Maw for Baron damage. They sweep away the ward. Jhin Air definitely have the memo on this.
Yeah, Marta's going to set up the box. Smeb's here as well. As the Sentinel's just going to watch the Baron fall down. I just don't know whether Umpty can make his way into this pit. Does have the flash available as Redemption's coming in. In goes Snowflower. It is Score that locks down the Baron, but Marta's down very, very low. Pawn right in amongst it, just playing that big body in the front line as Marta wants to get the CC
nice
in the back line. Massive Gnar, and the Wallop's good as well, as Pawn almost manages to Justice Punch his way out, but the Gnar is traded. Marta eventually falls as Deft trying to eat the honey fruit and get himself back alive. He's got a lot of damage. Good cocoon is going to land as, Snowflower, the three-man pulverizes beautiful as Deft is knocked back. Oh my god, Teddy almost does it, but he doesn't. It's going to be the double kill for Score, and the teleport for Smeb. They want to get right in amongst this.
It looks like it was Jhin Air's fight, but they just can't take down Kog'Maw with his lifesteal, with the Knight's Vow, and every other buff on the side of KT. They're just about able to ace the side of Jhin Air, and they're looking to end the game.
Yep, that's going to be the next inhibitor turret. Mid-inhib did come back up again, so they're just going to make their way through the top side. Remember, the Baron is still on top of them. The bot lane's for some reason going down as well, but who cares about that? Because Nexus turrets are falling. It was another ace for KT. It was a different play in their playbook. Seems like going to Rift Rivals certainly worked out for the team. The one team that was able to get the victory in the final. They've taken it back to the LCK.
And is it just a one-off, or will teams in the future have to consider banning the Kog'Maw? Because Atlas, you made an important point during this series. If you ban away the Kog'Maw, why can't he just go to Jinx and do a lot of the similar things? It wasn't Juggernaut, it wasn't a Lulu and a Kog'Maw in the front line. It was just a super tank composition. And what do you have to ban to stop it? Is it the Galio? Is it the Kog'Maw? Because it feels like the Jinx fits in pretty cleanly as well. And
Twitch
if they're
fits
willing,
in. I mean, Deft has got so many champions.
and if they're willing to rotate the different champions in, but focus on clean early League of Legends with smart warding, and also a rotation. Remember, they actually put their dual lane and mid lane super early to guarantee the farm. If they're willing to use all their resources to baby Deft through, his late game team fighting is the one area that's never been under question.
Oh, yeah. It used to be only his late game team fighting, and that didn't change. He just got really good at laning as well, Papa Smithy. That was what we were talking about back in China. It's only improved since then. Unless he picks Jhin.
This fight was insane because you saw the members going down. You think, okay, it's going to be Jhin Air cleanup. But watch the turn. Huge Shen taunt into 2. And then Umti dies because he had a max range spear. And there's a single auto from Deft. Kuzan and Teddy, both pretty healthy. But Smeb is just a monster. He's killing people on the Shen with just auto attacks. His Titanic Hydra somehow annihilating people.
Yeah.
Shen Smeb was the true damage carry.
The massive battle Shen. And it just shows that Smeb, it doesn't matter about which champion he plays. He's always going to be a carry. Never a potato tank towards the top side of the map. Always able to get the damage down. What I loved about that last fight was that the communication is obviously there. Deft obviously let them know exactly when that Bioarcane Barrage was back up again, because split second and they turned back around.